This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
It is indeed a beautiful sunset here by the Southern Africa. Sunrise here by the Southern Africa. My apologies. Good morning and welcome to the beginning of the safari. I am Sydney from Niconico. I'm traveling with Senzo here with my camera operator. We are going to try by all means and give you the best experience ever. For in case if you need our attention, you can follow us on Twitter, #SafariLive. You can also follow us on YouTube chat stream. So it's a little bit chilly this morning here where I am. Chances of seeing the cats are very high. My plan this morning is to go and check the Buffalo Spook cat line just to see something different before going to look for cats. I just saw some. Sorry for the inconveniences. We have got some technical challenges. We will come back shortly.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised. This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses.
Welcome back, and again apologies for the inconveniences. I am now around the sandy patch area looking for something interesting here. I've only seen the fresh tracks of the lion. It looks like it's a single male around here, so I'm just going to try to check if I can reallocate those tracks, as the tracks just got disappeared somewhere in the area here. So I'm just going to take this road and check the whole Buffalo's Hook cut line just to see if we can not be lucky with the rest of the pride or the rest of the coalition. So it's nice and chilly this morning here where I am, which is not bad for the cats. This is suitable for the cats. So before the sun comes out strongly, I must have to check all these areas. I can see that we are going to have a hot day today. So now let's cross over to one of my colleagues.
Well, Well, good morning. But before I say good morning properly, quickly, there's a disappearing large bottom. Oh, it's disappeared. There it is. It is a large hippopotamus bottom. He was just in the water at Buffalo's Hook Waterhole. Now, what this hippo does is he comes in here either in the late evening or early morning. He lies in the water for a bit, and you got to be very careful walking in this dry riverbed here, because there's a big shaded area where he actually sleeps during the day. There's so much competition for water now that he won't go to the main waterholes because the other male hippos will absolutely beat him. By the way, my name is Brett Smith. I have Batman on camera, and welcome to an exquisite morning out here in the African bushveld. Now, a quick update from after drive. On the way home last night, we found Thandi. So she was looking very skinny, and the first time I got to see the wound properly that she got from her fight with Sibui. It's quite big, but it's very much a flesh wound. It's not too deep, and it doesn't look infected. But we didn't see her very long. She briefly crossed this dam and went into this area where we can't drive, can't get a vehicle in. It's just too thick. So we're having a quick look around for her. She was heading to the west, and she was looking very hungry. Oh dear. There's only one left. So the poor Egyptian geese survived Hasana, but something else has managed to remove 3 of the little ones. And of course, with this little water, it's a big challenge to try raise chicks in this area. Shame. Shame, little gooses, shame. Just listening carefully as the sun pops up. See if we can hear any alarm calls or contact calls or territorial calls. Okay. I've actually changed my plan slightly. Now, we also had Tingana towards the end of drive yesterday, and he was looking for a fight. He was tracking the scent trail of Gijima, and we lost him as well after drive in these thickets up here. So I'm just going to go check the northern boundary for tracks quickly before anyone else wakes up. And it is a gorgeous morning. Remember, hashtag SafariLive if you have any questions for us on Twitter, or you can pop your questions in the YouTube feed. I did say last night, but for those of you who might have missed it, this will be my last and Jamie's last drive. She's with the trainees for the next while. We go on leave today, and James will be getting back to Juma tomorrow. Don't fly, don't fly, don't fly, don't fly, don't fly. Oh, very pretty. Look, don't fly, don't fly. There we go. It's very seldom we get to see a black-headed oriole out in the open like this and calling away. Oh, he's caught something. Oh, and he dropped it. Oh, I think maybe just the wings casing's dropped. Orioles are great fans of caterpillars. Isn't that pretty? That beautiful liquid chortle. Achoo! Oh, lovely light on him as well. So I think I've lost my comms. Did Kirsten say something, Craig? I missed that, Kirsten, sorry. Tom says he loves the yellow on the bird. It is stunning. And their call is one of my favorites out here. Now, I'm still in search of big cats this morning. All we found is some birdies, but someone way up to the north has already found some kitty cats. So let's go see which lion Steve has.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Mara Triangle. Terribly sorry about any technical issues that have been preventing us from coming to until now, but we are with what I believe is the Ololola Pride. I'm just trying to get head or tail of them. Good morning, my name is Steve. I'm joined once again on camera by Big James, back from leave, feeling fresh as ever. And we're out in the Mara. We decided let's just pop down into sort of the marsh area and see if we can find some lions. And, well, look what we found over here. A whole pride of them. There's 11. There's a number of young boys, which is making me think it is indeed the Ololola Pride, because I can only see one adult in attendance. The Ololola Pride is made up of 9 sub-adult or young males. There's 4 young females. I think there's actually 3 left now. Here they come. Here come the boys. And they walk right towards the car. Ooh, there's an adult on the right here. That's my head. Look at that. Coming right up to us. Are they thinking we are breakfast? I hope not. But they've definitely eaten. The bellies are a little bit round, but when there's a pride of, well, I've counted 11. Some of the adults are seemingly missing. I've counted 11 of them. That's a lot of mouths to feed. The temperature is about 18 degrees Celsius, 87 degrees Fahrenheit. It is a beautiful morning here in the Masai Mara. The pride not sleeping, not flat as cats normally are. Definitely up and moving, quite excited. What prospects are there? They've been looking at some waterbuck in the distance, but the waterbuck, we're watching them the whole time. You can see how close they are to the car. So special to be able to get this close to cats. There we go. Hello. If you listen closely, you'll actually hear them walking past the car. So we thought, after having such a wonderful morning in the marsh yesterday, we'll just jump in here and see what we can have a look at. Ages, you want to know if the males will fight each other for control over the pride? Well, essentially, being 9 young males, there'll be lots of squabbles and confrontations between them, but there won't be anything too serious in the way of lion fighting. It always looks serious, it always looks very physical, but that's just the way lions are. Even when they eat, they're very physical, make a lot of noise, a lot of snarling, but there won't be a physical, serious lion fight between the males. They'll form a coalition as brothers. You can see just over here, these youngsters are having a little bit of love for mum, because mum probably got a few smacks on her head at some stage when they were feeding last, and she's not very happy with everybody. We're giving a few snarls to the 2 younger boys when they walk past, but you can see that she's a little bit meow. So the males, when lions have any sort of interaction, it always seems very aggressive, but that's how you survive in lion society. You need to be aggressive to survive. You need to be aggressive to compete for mum's milk. You need to be aggressive to compete for the kill. The more meat you get in, the stronger you will be. But there will always be confrontations between them, but nothing to the extent of a potential killing. And potentially, if all 9 of them do reach maturity together, they'll move off and form a coalition. And that would be a very strong coalition indeed. There we go. Mum's not so annoyed with this young lady. She knows the ladies aren't as competitive as the boys. And when you look at them, the females' tummies are not as big as the boys, because, well, the boys definitely do get the lion's share. Julie, you said this lion hasn't had her morning coffee yet. Well, I wonder if I should offer her some of mine. A bit snarly. Bearing in mind that the lions have probably been active most of the night. Just going to turn this way and, well, hello everybody. Look at what is happening in the distance. There's something that happens every single morning here, and we are very blessed to be able to show it to you. The rising sun. We are at the moment surrounded by lions. The sun is rising. I can see some elephants in the distance. It is a terrible place to be. Really terrible place. Let's have a look at them again, James, because they're far more oh, bless you. That was right next to us. We are completely surrounded at the moment by lions. And it is always quite a nice feeling being surrounded by cats. When they look at you, they come right up to the car. This one is right next to me. I could probably hit it on the nose if I wanted to. The youngsters get very inquisitive. They get very inquisitive. They come right up to the car. Adults don't do this. Adults have gotten to the point where they're like, okay, well, it's just a big moving box. It's not going to cause me any harm. Oh, let's go back to this female here, James. Sorry, she's about to give that young male a hiding. He came up. She knew he was coming, and she was snarling at him because he has given her a few smacks, no doubt, on the head while they were eating last night. They've definitely eaten something. We were with them yesterday morning, and they didn't have as round a belly as they do now, and only about half a kilometre from where we had them yesterday morning. But that does not detail how far these lions actually move in one night. I've had lions move many, many miles, and they end up in the exact same spot the following morning. I spent the entire night with them, and I'd followed them. They killed 6 times, 1 zebra, 1 wildebeest, and 4 impala, and they ended up pretty much in the exact same place they were the night before. And when the guides who came out again in the morning joined me, they said, these lions are so lazy, they don't do anything. But in fact, they had walked a very long way, I know, because I'd followed them. And they had eaten and killed, and then they just happened to end up where they had started due to just the conditions and how everything worked. But this is beautiful. Hello. Do you want to come and jump on board? Looks like it does. A young male, very interested in the goings-on of the vehicle. Probably this is one of the younger ones, born in late June of last year. Paradise Girl, I actually have no idea. I haven't spent enough time with the Olololos to know if they're pregnant, but considering the amounts of sub-adults that they have, I would assume not. Generally, you get this sort of this wave of 1.5 to 2-year-old youngsters in a pride, and then after that 2-year-old sort of period, then you start seeing the pregnancy coming in again. It's about a 2.5-year sort of inter-cub interval. Although the gestation period is only 90 days, 100 days, 95 to 100 days, so just over 3 months. They will come into estrus every 30 days, but if they are pregnant or if they have cubs, well, they won't come into estrus again for at least 2 years. That is generally the way it works, unless the cubs that they were with are destroyed. That causes them to come back into immediate estrus. But this is the only lioness here with all the youngsters. So the rest of the adults are probably off somewhere looking for their own food. Maybe these youngsters are all been looking into the distance because that's where the adults are hanging out. Oh, Jared's buddy, I 100% agree with you. I was talking yesterday morning that in the Kruger Park, I spent a lot of time with a pride there called the Mountain Pride, and they had 9 young males that by the time I left got up to 3.5. By the time they were 3, one of those 9 were killed by 5 males from the south, but they were a formidable bunch. They were an absolutely formidable sort of arsenal of young males, and 8 of them, they maintained a territory not far from where they were born. I think they're still around. I don't know. I actually haven't been back for some time, but it was quite a well-documented sort of event. And those 9 young males got the lion's share and constantly beat up the ladies. It was really not much of a fair game, to be honest. But that is always something that I spent a lot of time discussing, was how amazing a coalition of 9 would be. It would be quite tricky for them, in fact, because it's difficult for them to find enough females to cover. When there's 9 of you, you're going to squabble over prides, because prides generally have between 3 and maybe 6 females, and if there's 9 males, well, invariably they're going to probably split up from time to time, like you see with the Birmingham boys. You generally only see 2 together at a time. The Triangle boys as well, 2 and then 1 moving around. When last were the Musketeers all seen together? I've never seen them. What a picturesque morning. Lions and the sun. What more could you ask for? They're so close to the car, it's almost impossible to frame one without getting a bit of the car in it. Ginny, no, you don't actually. When a lion looks directly at you, you're actually supposed to look directly back at it. It's a leopard that you should not look directly into eye contact with. See, so he's right over here, looking at me. A lion, it's all about staring a lion down. You shouldn't stare a leopard down, but lions are social cats, so you spend a lot of time with them, and if you're on foot with lions and you see them, you should actually look at them, not averting your eyes. Leopards, you should avert your eyes, because to look at them is a challenge, whereas lions, being social, that's what they do. They look at each other. They stare at each other like that. It's just very interested at these little things that are moving in this green box that smells like diesel. The adult, not at all concerned. It's always the youngsters, and if I started the car and started moving, they'd see the wheels moving and they get quite interested in what this wheel movement is. And the most important thing there is to actually stop the car and to kind of give it a bit of a shout, otherwise it might get a bit too close and try and jump on the wheel. Okay, well, we're going to stay with these lions for a little bit longer, see what action they get up to, but in the meantime, let's go back down to South Africa with Sydney and see what he's found.
I am still looking for the interesting animals here, but the tracks are just everywhere. Too much lion tracks on the ground, and I can see that the elephants as well has been here, and leopards is the one I haven't seen the tracks yet. Only I saw the tracks for the hyenas and the lions at the moment, and it looks like it's just 2 lions, a male and a female. So those tracks are heading much more towards this direction. I've been following the tracks for the past few minutes. Maybe we're going to be lucky somewhere by Central Twins Dam, the dry Twins Dam. So these lions, they didn't come here by the dam camp for drinking, so they just went parallel to it by the quarantine area, moving much more towards this direction. Maybe our lucky is much more on this side. The water drainage line is very cold. I can feel it. It's very cold here where I am at the moment. It's surprising this morning seeing that there's not even an impala here. Because normally there's quite a lot of impalas and wildebeest here. So I wonder who is around here. Maybe those lions came to this area. Oh no, their tracks are not out yet. So it means they're still somewhere in this block. So now let's cross over to Brent and hear if there is any luck on his side.
Well, it's incredible that there have been 5 different leopards in the last 48 hours in this area. And this morning we can't find a track of one. Even though I saw 3 different leopards yesterday in this very area. I think Tundi could have moved quite far, and I think Tingana has gone north to chase Gajima. So leaves me with our little chief, our little prince. So I'm going to have a quick look to where the area where we left him when we heard those Impala alarm calls, which is just down here at Quarry Pan. And he doesn't look like he's gone east or north, so maybe he's still hanging about this area. Just double checking. Quite a lot of hyena tracks around. That's normal. Hyenas are great wanderers in the evenings. Who knows, maybe Hosanna is already on his way back to Gallagher Pan. But I didn't see any tracks coming from that side. And we left him heading south around here. Well, he went to snooze for a bit, but his general direction was south. Colbert is wondering, have any areas of the Kruger benefited from substantial rain yet? As far as I know, the north, but I'm not 100% sure on that, but up towards Pafuri, Pundam, yeah, that area has had decent rain. Let's have a proper look over here quickly. Let's very carefully check. Batman, there's a robin hopping around in that tangle of thickets and calling, white-browed scrub robin. And you see it out there. There, it's down to the right-hand corner. There it is. Dip, dip. Not the best white-browed scrub robin sighting we'll ever have. There's the call. And Kirsten says, now Batman finally has his robin. Are you happy, Batters? He's so happy. Guys, we got Batman to say 2 words. That's a lot. Well done, Batman. Use your words. Okay, there's no tracks coming this way. Maybe he did a jink back down towards Buffalo's Hook. Let's double check here. Well, we still search for our kitty cats down south, back up to the north. Let's go see what Steve's lions are getting up to now.
Good luck down there, gentlemen. I hope you come right with some cats this morning. We have once again been very lucky finding the Olololos in the first few minutes of drive. Oh, good morning. She's going to get up. There we go. Lions generally stand up after a yawn. Here she comes. Going to walk right past the car. She is the adult female with the group. There are 12 I've now counted, and she's the only adult.
Child of the universe, how are they able to feed all these young mouths?
Tell the universe they've had a good time with the migration. In this area there were thousands of animals not so long ago. There are still quite a number of them, but they aren't as many as there were. So it becomes tricky, and that is what generally leads to the breakup of prides, is when prides get to a certain size. I mean, 15, 16 starts getting quite big for a pride of lions, especially when 9 of you are young males. So the young males will eventually kind of be left behind, because what will happen is the lionesses will make a kill, the young males will dominate that kill, and the lionesses will just leave. And, well, 12 hours later, the young males will be trying to find where the lioness have gone. And so eventually that's kind of what happens, is the young males get left behind. You might have a few days where they get left all on their own, and they'll always try and find their way back again with lots of love and forgiveness. There's a young female. I think. It's very tricky when they're this age to identify. It's actually a young male. You see there was just a little bit of hair on the throat there. So probably one of the last of the litter born. They're all behind us now, moving again in the road. So I'm just going to move up and see if we can follow them. We're very fortunate. But to feed these mouths needs to require lots and lots of kills. And the lioness have to be very successful in that regard to catch lots of food for them. Now that the migration is kind of moved off, they've got less chance of being as successful as they were. So they made hay while, whoops, it's very bumpy, while the sun was shining, as you were, during the migration. So they've managed to get lots and lots of bulk and energy, and now they're going to have to rely on the animals that stay behind. And some of those animals, being buffalo, the Ololola pride, are quite known to hunt. And then there's always warthog, Thompson's gazelle, waterbuck. There's probably some eland around. It's just going to be a little bit harder to do, in fact. Here we have them just in front, all walking on the road. How lovely. All being led by the one lioness. Let's have a look, shall we? AAS, I've never actually noticed the smell of lion urine. It's never something that stood out to me. Not like the popcorn smell that we get with leopard. But there must be something to it. I'll make a plan next time I see a lion doing their scent marking to follow up afterwards and get my nose right in there and see what I can smell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 is behind us. One of the young boys. So the pride is looking very, very good. Looking very healthy. The one, a young male we saw walk past, had a little bit of an injury on his genital sac, which looked, well, rather painful. Rather painful. But Patrick, one of the trainees, is on board with me, and we both noticed it, and we both have shared a little bit of a grimace at the what must obviously be quite painful. Okay, so what is it that those lioness up ahead, James? They're busy moving towards something. I don't know if there's anything there, but there could be anything in this long grass. There could be some warthogs moving through. You can see how all of the body language is now changing on the lions as, well, that is a youngster. What are you going to do? Last time we watched the Olololo pride hunting, they didn't make a very good show of it, to be honest. The young lioness, probably that individual we're looking at in the back of the screen, she just ran straight into a herd and thought, well, I've seen Mum do this. There's a little bit more skill required. And then just running headlong into a herd of animals that, well, has the potential to easily outpace you. Well, there definitely seems to be something, because the rest of the youngsters are coming up behind. There might be something small just ferreting around in the grass there. I'm scanning with my binoculars, but I can't see anything. Anything bigger than a warthog would be obviously seen by us where we sit. Do you see anything, James?
No.
No, nothing. Could be a number of warthog burrows in and around. Maybe one stuck its nose out there a moment before, because there's a procession of youngsters now behind that one, having a look, seeing what she's doing. Classic lion stalk preparations. Maybe she can smell something. I didn't get those comms, James. Did you have comms there?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you now, Kirsty. Sorry. I'm not sure what happened there.
Where's the picture?
Okay, so she's deliberately stalking around that little bush. Lots of animals will hide themselves in little thickets like that. I saw the serval doing it with her kittens the other day. The small secretive animals will do it as well. There might be a warthog burrow buried in that little mound or in that bush. Very hard to say, but the rest of the lionesses or the youngsters are slowly moving up behind, all looking very interested in whatever's going on. I'm trying to see where the adult is. The adult is, she's in the road, just watching things proceed. She's not doing anything. She's interested, but she's just having a look, seeing what these youngsters are going to provide for themselves. Copy that, Kirsty. I'm not sure if there's actually anything there. I think they might all just be interested in each other's movements. Not sure, but I'm going to move up about 10 meters, James, see if we can see around that bush. This is the lioness. She's just in front of me here. She would be the one to pay most careful attention to. Just going to stop right there. See what transpires here. She's not doing anything. She's just watching them. But all of them are peeling off now into the long grass there. This young male doing what he does best, waiting behind. And as soon as any attack or meat gets provided, he will launch himself in there and no doubt try and dominate. Talking through my experience with the mountain pride down in the Kruger National Park with those 9 young males, they used to just stand back and watch. And as soon as the killing was done, in that go and beat up their parents. It was really, all their mothers, it was really quite rude, to be honest. But that is the life of a male lion. Firefly, I think I understand your question. You want to know if is it true if lionesses are born into hunting positions. I'm not sure if they're born into it. They just develop certain skills. As they grow with the pride, things start to work. One is always the chaser, one's the catcher, but you'll see the experienced lionesses without any form of sound communication and just know exactly what to do. If you were with us yesterday, we did a little broadcast with what was the Paradise Pride and how one lioness bolted all the way back. She came actually a perpendicular line away from the warthog, and the other 3 lionesses went around the other side. So they kind of take up specific roles, and you'll see different lions doing that in different situations, all dependent on the terrain and what they're hunting. When it comes to these youngsters, well, they're all just learning. You see, they've all just walked into a same single file line behind the ones that went forward, and that's not going to help anybody at all. Ideally, if you wanted to catch something, you need to form a form of net that surrounds the thing, leaving a few catches behind, and then chasing the animal towards the waiting lions that are obviously hiding in the long grass. We saw a very brief sort of hunt with the sausage tree pride the other night when they chased, or they almost caught a zebra. They were lying in ambush in a line, and the zebras were moving towards their line, and one lioness broke ranks, and they all turned, and the one zebra nearly got caught by the lioness. It actually launched and caught it with its claws. But I think the movement of the zebra, the powerful kicking, jumping movement, managed to dislodge those claws from its skin to its, actually, it was a very lucky movement, I thought it was gone for. But it is part and parcel. They're always learning. They're not very successful. And the pride, when the cubs are hunting like this, well, there's almost no chance of them catching anything. They don't have the stealth or the necessary patience. You can see they're all on the other side of the bush there. What they are doing, I do not know. I don't know. Whatever hunt it was potentially going to be is just dwindled into tails and heads in the air. You see, not very stealthy, but it's possible that there's a burrow there that they're all looking into at the moment, hoping something's going to pop its head out. Captain Deltron, do you want to know about whether the big lions hunt with the rest? And I think you're meaning the male lions. They can often hunt with the pride. It is essential for a pride to have male lions if they want to take down giraffe and buffalo. And it's really difficult to bring them down on their own. But often what you will see, like what we saw with this young male hanging back, is I've seen many times the pride moving forward and hunting, and then the dominant male who hangs back watching the goings-on afterwards runs in and smashes everybody off. Oh, it's got something in its mouth. What is that, James? It looks like some poo. Yeah, it looks like hippo poo. Lovely, guys. Well done. You caught some hippo dung. That's amazing. So often you will see male lions hanging back watching the pride, but on their own they're actually very efficient hunters. One male, 2, 3 males together, they can bring down many, many animals. They're very, very strong, very powerful. I'll go forward, James. Just got to loop around this lady here who's deliberately staying in the road for me. Just get a little bit closer. See exactly. Okay, well, they're all lying down. Nothing too much to be excited about. And while we try and get to a little bit of a better view, let's go back down to Sydney and see how he's getting on.
I am now approaching the Muluwati drainage line, and I've just heard some squirrels making noise here just now, and there's also some hyena tracks here. Maybe I might be lucky with any of the spotted cats in this area, as the spotted cats is the ones who are preferably coming to this kind of the drainage lines. Squirrel was just giving an alarm call here. It was not ordered by any other bird. They were vocalizing against something.
Hi, I'm just on the radio. No problem, yeah, then I think it's the same tracks that come out in Drakensberg and then head east again in the block. So we've now got all the leopard tracks. We've got tracks of Tandi. She was coming this way and then cut into this block and started heading this direction. And then we have tracks of Hasana going the opposite direction, heading west into the block. So we're just checking to see if Tandi is maybe crossed over this road. When you last saw me, I had no tracks to follow. Now I'm trying to decide which tracks to follow. So from where we saw Tandi last night, this is a big loop, so these probably are the most fresh. I haven't seen any sign of her crossing our eastern boundary yet. I'm sure little Kalamba is just fine. Tandi's a good mother. I'm pretty sure she's on Torchwood somewhere, judging from where Tandi came from and where she's heading back towards. Probably sitting very pretty on top of a termite mound at this very moment. And Tandi really likes this area here between Cheetah Cut Line and Drakensberg Road. I think it's definitely worth our while just scratching around here for a little bit, stopping and listening every now and then. No, the game drive radio is quite busy there, Kirsten. Can you go again? Oh, that copy, thanks. Yeah, there's nothing crossing Cheetah Cut Line. I've done it from Buffelshoek boundary to Central. Okay, just having a look here. Oh, what is that there? Do we have a track? No, nothing. Okay. While I keep my search going for the elusive leopards of the Sabi Sand, let's go back to the not so elusive lions in the Masai Mara with Stifovo.
Well, welcome back to the Mara Triangle. The youngsters are all lying up on the side there doing nothing. The adult is finally up. So we're going to see what she gets up to, because she is the decision maker, most certainly. And when she makes decisions, things will work. But I don't know how much luck she'll have with all of them hanging on her tail. Maybe she's been waiting for them all to disappear into the long grass like that and eat some hippo dung before making her move. John, that's a very interesting question. I mean, every now and again it's been recorded that lions, after killing other lions due to competition, due to whatever it might be, new males moving in, killing cubs, or lionesses being killed defending cubs, or male lions being killed fighting other male lions, sometimes it's been recorded that they end up eating them. But I've never heard of a lion deciding to just eat a cub because of tough conditions. There was once a documentary about a lioness that kept killing her family's cubs, and they didn't quite know what was going on, but then it was a documentary, so there might have been a lot of drama put in on that. So I'm not sure, but lions they kill each other from time to time, and then they only eat each other as a response to something that's available. They don't kill each other for the sake of eating, for food. Once the death is there, well, then they go, oh, well, I might as well capitalize on what's going on. Okay, well, let me just move up a little bit to this lioness. She's a little bit out of the way. But no doubt they've been hunting in this open plain because all the animals are gone. All the animals have vanished. But she is a beautiful lioness. Beautifully physically fit. Sorry, James? A bit more forward. And she's going to lie down again for us. There she is. Isn't she a spectacular specimen? Where are your sisters? Where's the rest of your family? Karen, I've not come across any mange up here, so I mean it's got something to do with environmental conditions that allow the mite to persist. I haven't seen a single scraggly animal up here, and I think mange, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it might also be connected to certain drought conditions and really high fluctuations in seasonality between wet and dry periods. But I'm really not an expert in mange, but I haven't seen a single animal up this side that has any form of sort of injury, or not injury, but of fur loss or damage or any weird sort of virus on the skin or mite infection as of yet. Maybe any of you who've been watching the show the last year or so for the Mara, if you've ever recorded or seen any of them. I certainly haven't. Animals up here are in a really, really good condition. You see her fur looking really good. Beautiful lioness. She's got the babysitting duties today. They probably pull straws between them. My turn today and your turn tomorrow. Hard work looking after 11 youngsters. Okay, well, maybe they'll make some movement. There's a huge herd of buffalo in the distance and some topi closer than that. It's possible that they might move in that direction, but it'll all be under the guidance of this beautiful lady here. And well, the temperatures are turning and starting to warm up. Menamu, well, I suppose lions have got their territory. They've got the area that they hang out in. And the animals, just to keep the reason lions defend territories is for food resource. So without a food resource, there wouldn't be a lion territory. So there's definitely food, and all that might happen is that the territory might sort of go a little bit bigger, sort of in the dry season, or in what we call the not migration period. So in the migration period, what we've seen is these animals are just moving absolutely everywhere. They sort of forget the territorial boundaries for a moment, because the food is just all over the place. So now, if anything, the territories will probably become a little bit more fixed, a little bit more defended, and trespassers less tolerated than before. So the game is here, and the game is around. I mean, if James moves a little bit left and just looks at the hill in the background, then we'll see an entire herd at our 12 o'clock, James. On the other side of the tree line, a huge herd of buffalo on the other side there. Yeah, just at the base of that sort of foothill there. And a large herd of buffalo. I think it's buffalo anyway. Yeah, that's definitely buffalo. And well, they're moving around all the time. And the territories, what you often find with lion territories is they overlap a watercourse, some form of river system, which being the Mara, runs all the way through the Mara and the Mara Triangle, all the way down through the Serengeti. And the lion territories will sort of overlap with the river and with sort of a surrounding area that sort of feeds to the river. And that is where the animals are moving. They move to and from water every day into feeding grounds and back again, and that's all the lions do, is they just bounce between the river and the feeding grounds. And if you spend time down in Djuma, you've noticed how Hosana has made himself a resident at a watering hole, because he knows the animals are going to come. So if there's water and there's food, the animals will be there, and that's what allows the territories to be formed. And due to the abundance of prey out here, that's why there are so many lions around. Even though the migration has moved off, there are still plenty of animals around, and they will be throughout the year due to the second rain that we're receiving now, and the fact that a lot of the areas are very, very high still in vegetation and grass. The giraffe don't seem to go anywhere. They'll be around. So there might just be a switch in prey diet, to be honest. Warthog seem to form a huge portion of out-of-season prey. Topi will be here. There will be buffalo around. There will be giraffe around. No doubt the odd zebra and wildebeest who didn't make the migration. So there's certainly a lot of food around. The lions just have to work a little bit harder. These youngsters are all moving through the long grass. They've spotted the topi that I saw in the distance. That's a very long way away still. They need to be a little bit more sort of determined. Standing up on termite mounds is not going to work. That is what the topi do, to be able to see. Can you see those topi there, James? They're not far away, probably about 200, 300, 400 meters directly at our sort of 11:30. But far away still. Hello, Lisa. You want to know what the strongest sense in a lion is? Well, probably eyesight, but a sense of smell and eyesight, I suppose, is really hard to say. I mean, lions at night see so well. Their sense of smell. I've followed lions. We were talking about that pride, the mountain pride in the Kruger. I've spent time following one of their males. Must have been 3-4 miles as he smelt the ground, looking for his family that had just walked on the ground, probably the day before. He was able to find them through just sniffing the ground. So their sense of smell is great. I don't think it's as well developed as dogs, but it's certainly far greater than ours. And their eyesight is phenomenal, especially at night. And when it comes to movement, and their sense of hearing is also very, very good. 3 very important elements when you need to be a hunter. There's eyesight, smelling, and hearing. But as their eyesight, smelling, and hearing gets better, so does that of the animals they're trying to get. I mean, who could have better hearing than a kudu? They have big nostrils of kudu and impala, and able to smell the lions. And giraffe have got phenomenal eyesight. So all of these senses, even yourself, if you came and spent time out here in the African wilderness for a period of time, you would notice that your sense of smell and hearing improves dramatically once you're away from a city. We're trained in cities to ignore things, ignore the sounds and the smells. You also see things much more clearly when you first start out in the bush, and many people I've had just for 4 or 5 day safari hardly see anything on day 1, and by day 5 they're spotting lions and leopards quite easily. So you get that sort of that development, that image that you're looking for. What are you searching for? And then the smells start becoming a lot stronger and more sort of recognizable. And you hear a lot more as well, because we're actually listening when we come out here. In a city, it's vehicles and sirens and horns and noise, so we try and block it all out. So if you spend a month or 2 in the bush, and I tell you, your senses will become far superior to what they were before. And these lions are born into this environment. Their senses are what keep them alive, as do all the other animals. And so they are constantly, I suppose, they're improving, and they have improved from what they were probably many, many, many years back, to create the lion that we have on the open plains these days. Very, very keen senses. What I always find amazing is lions' ability to recognize each other when they are walking. You'll see a lion will suddenly pop out of nowhere, and one lion will see it from 100 meters maybe, so 100 yards, and they'll know immediately whether it's a friend or foe. I find that incredible. I mean, we can be right next to this lioness with ID cards and all sorts of things and still struggle to identify them, but lions are able to identify each other visually from a distance. I find that always very, very cool. Well, these youngsters are moving up, and they're going to head towards those topi that we spotted before. We're going to keep up with them, but while we do that, while we slowly move an inch forward, we're going to go all the way back down to South Africa with Sydney and see how he's getting on with his tracking.
The lions here in South Africa are hiding this morning. So the 2 tracks by the beginning disappeared. I'm not too sure if maybe they came out much more towards the neighboring farm or not, because I couldn't manage to see where they came out. But now I am trying my other luck in the area here. Maybe we might be lucky with something else. Jackal Park, the best time to see the leopard activities is between the dawn and dusk. But if the sun is overcast, you can also see it during the day. But leopards, you just have to be lucky, because they can hunt at any time. So when they are sleeping during the day, if anything comes, they are going to follow it. So you just have to be lucky with the leopards, and anything can happen at any time. So there is a very big bachelor head of the impalas here. So you can see now that the impalas are enjoying the green grass coming out. So a bachelor head of impalas is consisted of the big males which have been defeated on their old territories, together with the young males which have not yet started mating yet. In other words, here you will find those who are not strong enough to have territories. So impala is quite a very beautiful animal. Look at those 3 body coloring. So the bright colors on the stomach helps them during the dry season when the sun is too hot, and summer season as well, in order to reflect the heat back to the ground, because when they are walking here, the ground can be so very much hot. So the impalas are always very clean. because these animals, they do rely on the oxpeckers to come and clean them. But apart from the oxpeckers, impalas, they do what is called allo grooming, which is kind of a reciprocal grooming. When one of them is grooming, the other one is also hoping for the same thing to happen to him. So here, they do help each other. So the interesting part about the grooming of the impalas is their dental structure. The design of the dental structure of these animals has got quite a lot of big gaps by the front tooth, which gives them access to comb each other in order to get rid of the parasites. So when combing each other, when they grab the parasites, they don't swallow them. They just grab them and take them off. And it's the only buck who does that. You can see the 3 stripes at the back, which serve as a follow me sign. So quite a lot of animal has got ticks at the moment, as the dry season has got also quite a lot of ticks infections on these animals. So now let me carry on and see if I can find one of any of those animals who does hunt the impalas. So no tracks following the impalas at the moment. So impala can be a very good meal to just one leopard. But here the leopards in Juma, Carol, we are very much close at the moment. Lambing on impalas is just going to be maybe in about a week or not more than 2 weeks' time. In less than 2 weeks' time, we are going to be starting having the little ones. And I can promise you, by just looking at the vegetation, this is convincing. So there will be some nutritious pasture here by this bush. At the moment, I can see everything is turning green. So these animals are going to be convinced enough and start dropping their little ones. It's not going to take 2 weeks. So other areas here in South Africa, the impalas, they normally give birth just by the second week of November. This is the week impalas are starting to give birth in some of the areas in the country. So now let's go to the greener pastures of the Masai Mara.
Greener pastures indeed. The lions are spreading out. There is one of the young males hanging towards the back. The lioness is behind him still with another couple, and the others, probably 7 or 8 of them, have moved directly towards the road on the other side, the main road, and they don't seem to have looked at the topi. The topi, though, spotted them a long time ago, because they all seem to climb up on little mounds like this. And well, in my opinion, topi's got one of the best eyesights of all the sort of general game you find around here. They're always the first one to spot the cats moving, and well, they've all moved sort of in that direction, have slowly disappeared into the long grass. So we're going to quickly move around onto the other side and see if we can maybe get these youngsters walking along that main road, or see exactly where it is that they're going to. Because the good news is, if they cross that road, we can follow them off-road. We're in a no off-road driving area. There we go, there's a lion. Still looking towards the topi. child of the universe, most certainly lions could dig out a warthog burrow, and working in a unit, most certainly. They're not the best diggers. I have got a video of a leopard digging a warthog out. It's quite incredible, actually, to see. So it's definitely doable, but it's only in certain burrows can you do that. So, you know, if the warthog is in a really deep burrow, that's not possible. And what we see in Djuma is the leopards just wait at the entrance for the warthogs to come out. A little bit easier, I suppose, than digging them out. But in Botswana, I had I found a warthog burrow that lions had most certainly attempted to start digging, and in the process of digging out the warthog, it caused the warthog to launch itself out the burrow, and well, it didn't survive. So if you're inside a hole and something starts digging, your first idea is either to go deeper or to get out, and well, that's generally what happens. So yeah, they do that. And many times you find lions hunting around a warthog burrow. You see how they've walked around the burrow and around the burrow. There's a bit of a scratching and digging, but they don't have the claws or the feet per se. We go back to this male per se that dogs or hyenas have to actually do proper digging. But they can dig. They can dig, but not very, very well. If it's a very hard termite mound, then very, very unlikely they're going to do that. Out here, though, the soil is not very hard. This clay soil can be quite soft or quite brittle at times. If it was wet and dried, it could get quite hard, but potentially could be dug out. And burrows don't go too deep here due to the soil type and how it can get inundated. Okay, well, that male is watching his young brothers and sisters moving towards the other side of the road there. So we're going to quickly zoom around and see if we can keep up with them, because the other side of the road there, as I said, we might be able to follow them. I speak, yes indeed. You want to know if lions ever... Oh no, my car is not starting. Okay, well that happens. You want to know if they ever go up onto the escarpment, and just outside our kitchen earlier this year, during the binge series, this bride actually killed a zebra outside of the kitchen. Yes, indeed. And these lions are known for going up into the mountains and eating the livestock of the herders. So it is a bit of one of those sort of contentious issues that you have. But the escarpment is just here. Our camp is just over there, and most certainly the lions do go in. They do move in and around, but they try and avoid people. They try and avoid areas of people because of the confrontation that they experience together. But they do go up there most certainly because the animals go up there. A lot of them do spend the night up there, maybe thinking it's safe from the lions, but it's not always. Anyway, we're going to see if we can get our car started, and let's go back down to Brent and see if he's had any luck.
Well, I've got some good news. We found tracks of Thandi and Hlalamba, both of them together. And they went into this area behind me, and I'm just really double, triple checking, even though I have done this road already this morning, that the tracks don't cross into Torchwood. So far, fingers crossed, I've had no sign of tracks crossing into Torchwood. So they could be right in these thickets here. So I'm gonna go check again down towards Gwaripan, and then towards where I had the last tracks of both of them. And then I'm going to take a stroll in the thickets to see if I can find them on foot, because it's very thick in there. And there's one possibility. I don't think I would have missed tracks on this road, but as I say, I'm triple checking at the moment. John would like to know, will Thandi have trouble hunting with her injury? I didn't look to hamper her too much last night when I saw her. And it's incredible how resilient these creatures are. And I've seen leopards with far worse injuries than that almost behave as if normal. She had a bit of a limp, but nothing serious. It's quite a big wound though. And if it doesn't get infected, she should be just fine. You know, when leopards walk down roads, they're relatively easy to track. It's when they just cross roads that makes them difficult. That's why I'm going so slowly. I'm checking all the termite mounds I can just see inside in case Kalamba is sitting easy on top of one. Oh, I'm so busy staring at the ground, looking for tracks. I didn't even notice the elephants. Still in some very thick stuff there. Let me just go forward maybe. So busy. How's that, Craig? I'm not in the best spot for the camera. But I had my eyes so glued to the sand, I suddenly heard this break of a branch. I looked up and there's an elephant. Just listening carefully. See if there might be any giveaways to where the leopards might be. Fortunately, no alarms just yet ringing through the African dawn. Okay, let's leave the eddies. We know where they are. We can always come back to them. I really would love to see Thandi and Kalamba on my last drive for the next little while. So I'm going to head back towards where their last tracks were and take a quick walk. Hopefully the elephants keep moving slowly because they're heading in the area I want to walk. That's not too bad. I can always duck and dive and sneak around ellies. Noisy rattling testiculars. And more elephants. You can just see a trunk through the bush. I just saw movement down there. You can just make out an ellie in that gap there. Okay. So Hasana headed west, sort of back towards camp, into this load of thickets. Thandi and Kalamba went east. And strange enough, I think Hasana passed through here much earlier in the evening than Thandi and Kalamba, but it was almost about 10 meters from where they went different directions off the same road. But Thandi's tracks look a lot more fresh. Mehdi is wondering about how wild animals keep the injuries from being getting infected. Well, they'll lick them, and they've just got incredible immune systems. So this is where Hosana went west, and we might even be able to see his last track. There we go. See them there. There's Hosana's tracks heading, well, southwest off the road. Tandi and Tlamba's tracks we're not going to be able to see. They're quite a bit more difficult to see than Hasana's. As I say, this is not far from where we left them last night. So I say these are quite early. And then on the hard ground, 50 meters in front over there, is where Tandi and Tlalamba went to the east. Okie dokie. Okay, I'm going to take a quick walk before these elephants inundate this area. And hopefully we find Tandi and Tlalamba.
Still no sign of the spotted cats. Here I am now trying around the Buffalo's Hook Dam, and it's just hyena, too much hyena tracks here. This is where Osana was spotted yesterday, and I also heard that Tingana was also spotted somewhere in this area. So, since I just saw some tracks here from the top, I just want to reverse and check it. I just want to check. Yes, there is some tracks going much more that side. You can see there, that is a leopard track. So from the Buffalo's Hook Dam. So it's showing that these animals has been to the Buffalo's Hook Dam maybe earlier this morning, or the tracks might be for the last night. But this tracks looks very fresh. Maybe it's for this morning. Now it means we are at the right direction. Hopefully we will be lucky this side. Carol, the medicinal plants, they do help the animals injured. Let me give you an example. When I grew up, we used to have chickens, and these chickens, when having flu, we were treating them from the bark of the amarula tree, and there is this other tree. This tree is not occurring here. So these two trees is the ones we were using. It's called the Celtics africana. The Celtics africana and the marula tree is the trees we were using in order to treat flu by the chickens. So the trees can be used in order to treat some of the diseases affecting the animals. So this leopard track is very much clear, and I just want to check if it's on top of the vehicle that has been here this morning or not. So I'm going to get off here just to confirm this track. Yeah, you can see it's on top of the vehicle tracks. Yeah. And this looks like Tingana. This is Tingana's tracks. It's on top of the vehicle tracks for this morning. So now I can see that Tingana's tracks is right on top of the other vehicle tracks for this morning. So he's heading towards this side. We might be lucky. So it means I must have to listen to also animals giving the warning calls. Sidro, the leopard tracks, they are not the same. Let me just give you maybe a good explanation so that you can understand. So I'm going to use the palm of my hand as an example. Somewhere here, I don't know if this is going to be clear sensor for you to check. If you can check here on my fingerprint, there is a crack here. This crack, it happened while I was about 12, 13 years old. I was looking for some birds, and I was hunting small birds. Then I shot a buzzard, and this buzzard, it was So it's not clear, but it's fine. You will understand my explanation. So then when I shot the buzzard, this is what happened. When that buzzard fell on the ground, I grabbed it while it was alive, and it scratched me here. And then that scratch is still here. It's appearing on my fingerprint every time. So these animals, some of them, they do have some of the cracks underneath by the pad of their loops. When they're stepping on the ground, you can see the cracks which are different from the others. Same applies to the elephants. You can also distinguish from the cracks underneath their footprints. So here we can easily distinguish because of the design of the tracks. If there are no cracks, you can also see the size of the tracks, the toes. There will be something different, which is different from the other. But Hosana's tracks are much smaller than Tingana. So also the hyenas has been here. So a lot of activities has been taking place here. So it means Tingana as well went to the Buffalo's Hook Dam for drinking. It's right on top of the vehicle dropping for the vehicle tracks for this morning, and I'm not even seeing any fresh droppings here on this road. But at least now we know that these animals are heading much more that side. So I just have to check now on top of these termite mounds because the sun now is good for these animals to bask. So now let's go to Steve, who is driving around by the Mara.
We are indeed. We managed to get the battery moving, and that required a little bit of physical effort. Unfortunately, folks, one of the things that with these Land Rovers and with game drives, you're constantly switching on and off the vehicle, and it eventually leads to a battery just completely being destroyed, and that's what happens. So we've had to leave the lines now. They're moving directly in towards the tree line anyway, so then we're going to lose them. We're heading back towards, they did cross the road as anticipated, and they're heading straight towards sort of that tree line below the escarpment. So we were going to do one more segment with them, but I can't switch the car off just yet. I need the alternator to charge the battery for a fair amount of time. Otherwise, we're just going to be pushing. And in a line sighting, pushing a vehicle was not ideal. It's not really ideal. So we're going to move off from the Olololos, get onto the main road now, get some revs going on the vehicle to really supercharge the battery, and then hopefully in the next 20 minutes or so we'll be able to switch off and do a segment on something. Sorry about that. If anybody has a safari company, they will know that batteries are one of those things in Land Rovers that are just part and parcel of the budget. Keep having to get new batteries. Most people will know with the vehicle it's not ideal to start and stop all the time. You need to keep the vehicle running. The charge is how it all works. The battery is what turns the vehicle over, and the alternator is what charges the battery while the vehicle is moving. But if you're constantly starting and stopping, it doesn't give the alternator that opportunity to really kick in and charge the battery. And on a vehicle like this, we have all sorts of lights and technical stuff that requires charging. So sorry about that. There we go. Here's a little 2-track back to the road. The heat has really warmed up. So I've got a strong feeling the lions are just going to go into the tree line over there and have a bit of a nap, because, well, the temperature has already increased by a huge margin. Lovely day out in the Mara. Can you get this guy without me stopping the car, James? How does that work? Sally, to be a guide you need to have a little bit of mechanical expertise. I have a little bit. I'm not an expert. You see how the vehicle is shaking. I'm terribly sorry about that. The Land Rover's shake. There's a topi watching that pride of lions disappear into the thickets. Typical topi fashion, standing on top of a termite mound. Our mechanic Shadrach will be in today though, so we'll probably we were anticipating staying out until about lunchtime to see if we could get any shots, but I think with this battery issue we might have to head back at the end of drive. So sorry, final control. We were going to stay out later, but James and Patrick getting off every 5 minutes to push is just, it won't be ideal. So we'll go back and maybe Shad's come with some new batteries and then we can head straight back out again. That would be great. Oh, watch out. Natural light, you are 100% correct. The constant starting and stopping, it destroys these batteries. That really does. It destroys them. It's not great for starter motors either, but it's part and parcel of being in the game drive. It's something that has irked me from time to time, is when you're in a sighting and certain people will pull in with a vehicle and they won't turn it off. They're doing it for the benefit of the vehicle, of course, but on a game drive you ideally want everything to switch off so you can watch and observe and listen to what's going on, but not ideal for the longevity of the battery. Let's just get over this little drainage here and I think we might find ourselves back on the road. There we go. Philip, the Marshmallow Club means getting stuck and having to call somebody to get you out. Oh, sorry, it's a bit bumpy. I should probably watch where I'm going. So, Philip, if you get stuck and you get out of it, you're good. If we break down and we start the car again, but if we get stuck and have to physically call somebody to come and assist, well, that is the Marshmallow Club. Sorry, James, I'm throwing you all over the place. If you can get out of it yourself, for example, we were able to push start, we didn't call anybody, well, happy days. Talking about the Marshmallow Club, someone who is definitely high up on the list there is Mr. Brent Leo Smith.
Ha! Stivovo! I would say you are definitely higher on the list than me. And especially since the rain is coming in the Mara. We will see, Mr. Steve, we will see. No, I was going to be nice and say technical issues, well actually technical issues don't get you in the Marshmallow Club. But if the car is running and you stall it and get stuck, I think that counts as Marshmallow Club. What do you think, Craig? Yeah, I agree. So unfortunately, I still had those Tundi and Clumber trucks, but the elephants stopped me. I couldn't go any further, and I bumped into those Ellies. So they should be around there somewhere, but I'm going to wait for those Ellies to move off, and in the meantime, I'm going to go have a look if Hasana came out on Central Road. Now, while I was walking, I could hear the distinct hum of a petrol Land Rover, and it seems like Sydney is on the other side of the Ellies from where I was with them on foot.
Maybe these are the elephant Brent is referring to, who just went over the leopard tracks earlier in the area. So I can see this is quite a very small head. It's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and maybe less than 15 elephants. And they even got a small one. I can see there's a small one there, Senzo. Look at that. Stunning. The little one has got quite a lot of rough texture on the ears because this little one was also doing the mud wallowing somewhere maybe a while ago. So the elephant ears, that is the thinnest part of the body of the elephant because it's there as a coolant in order to help the boot control the body temperature. Elephants, unfortunately, they don't sweat. So that is why they must have to cool the body, make use of other various ways. The little one is going to the other side. So elephants, if you look at them feeding nicely, you will see that they are like us. Some of these elephants are left-handed and some of them, they are right-handed. And how to see that? You must have to check at the pointing of the tusk. Where the pointing is much thinner, it means it's using that tusk a lot. So if the thinner part is on the left, it's a left-handed elephant. If the thinner part is on the right, then it means he is a right-handed elephant. Some of them you'll see with the one piece of tusk broken. So obvious, that is the tusk which is used the most. So elephant has got two types of, they've got, one tusk is called a master tusk, another one is a slave tusk. So that trunk has got quite a lot of muscles. They've got between 40,000 to 100,000 muscles there. So it's a very powerful animal. And because of their strength, elephants, they earn quite a lot of respect. Nico, the elephants are not like the cats. If you check, elephants are very much curious. These animals are inquisitive. They know very well that there are people in the car from the smell. You know, elephants can also be able to distinguish the scent of different tribes. If we have got two tribes here in Juma, and these tribes, one of them is giving problem and another one is not. When they meet people who are giving them problems, they can distinguish between the tribes. Just from the scent of smell, they know this is the tribe which is giving us problem. And then they will then take action. They will either come to attack or leave. So you can see the tail has got quite a lot of hairs, thick hairs. So some other people, they say elephants don't have hairs. So you can see by the tail there's hairs. Also by the side of the bodies, they do have some hairs. So those are the tip of the hairs there by the tail, helps them in order to chase away the flies. So at this stage, they are not concentrating a lot on the grasses here. They are still feeding on some of these trees. So the elephants, Jeremiah, the elephants looks like they are smiling all the time. That is true. So, but if you read them, when these elephants are feeding, if they're starting to get irritated, you can easily see that. The elephant communication is quite easy. They can easily communicate with the trunk. You will see them waving the trunk, showing that they are not happy. And these animals can be able to talk from underneath their legs. Underneath their legs there, by their pad, by the nails, that is where they can be able to pick up vibration on the ground from very far. So elephants can hear, they can see, and they can also feel from just underneath their legs. They can pick up a vibration from a very long distance. Sally, the elephant skin, yes, the parasites, they do penetrate the elephant skin. If you want to see that, this is what you must do, Sally. You must go and check an area where the elephants are doing rubbing post. When these animals are doing the mud wallowing, after rolling in mud, they go and scratch against a branch. Where they are scratching, you will see that they leave behind the ticks stuck by the tree. So that is showing you that the ticks, they do attach to the elephant. They do get attached to the elephant body. So now we can just carry on here and see if we're going to find something else in the same area. So these animals, the elephants are very peaceful animal. Only when the bull is on mast, the unpredictable condition caused by the level of testosterone is what drives the males very aggressive. And when there's new babies, also when having the injuries, when elephant has got injuries, they just get irritated by anything. So those are the times you must have to avoid the elephants. So now you can see I am right coming towards the fire break. While I'm checking around the fire break here, let's go back to Brent and hear what he's seeing at the moment.
Well, I'm guessing Hassan has come this way, and he might have crossed Central at some really hard stuff, so I'm checking in Yala Road South. Then I'm going to pop into the Mawati, check downstream towards Twin Dams. Other than that, I'm just enjoying the sun. It's warming me up. It's a beautiful morning here in the bush. And Tingana, I'm pretty sure, went north. The Nkuhumas have been found on the Cheetah Plains boundary, on Chitwa, but unfortunately it is in a section of Chitwa where we don't have a signal. But if we get no luck with the leopards, there's always birds to look at. So I thought I heard an alarm call. Yeah, everything's gone quiet. No sign of tracks on Yala Road South just yet. It's warming up nicely. I think I might have to go have a swim in our pool this afternoon if it gets hot enough. Last time we were on leave, it didn't get warm enough to use the pool. And I believe water should be around 26, 27 degrees Celsius before one even attempts to swim. Tim is asking, are Jamie and I going on vacation after this drive? Indeed, both of us are. We're going to my cousin's wedding this weekend. And then on Monday, well, we're going to this weekend. Then on Monday, we meet up with Tristan and Ali, and we head off to Cozy Bay on the east coast of South Africa, just south of the Mozambique border. we're going to be doing some, well, Tristan and I are going to be doing some fishing. Ali and Jamie are going to be doing some snorkeling. We might also go, it's the best time of the year for turtle laying season. So we might go see if we can find some leatherback and logger-headed turtles nesting on the beach at night. And we go with the Natal Parks Board or the KZN Parks Board. You can go look at turtle hatching. Okay, this is a favorite spot for leopards to walk out of the river system, so good spot to look for tracks. However, there are none coming out here. It doesn't mean that Hosanna hasn't kept through into the little river system, and he might pop out at the Mawati. So while we continue on, let's go across to Steve, who's driving down the main drag in the Mara.
Thanks, Brent. Talking about holidays, that's fantastic. Where is he going, I wonder? No doubt they're going to have some fun. Well, we've been charging the battery for some time, but I wonder if anybody knows, what do you do if you can't start a vehicle? But the problem is, you need Cozy Bay. He's definitely going to be doing some fishing. You need to have a gear vehicle. Having an automatic vehicle, you can't roll start an automatic vehicle. Very, very hard. But a vehicle that has got gears, very, very easy. But ideally, you need a little bit of a slope. Thankfully, I've charged the vehicle to an extent. Ah, no. And now I'm not on a slope. But ideally, you need a little bit of a slope. I'm going to put it just over here for you, and you'll have a look. I'm going to switch the car off. Now you need to put it into second gear. You need the car to roll. Come on, roll. Put the ignition on. Put the ignition on, and then drop the clutch. Just like that. So with a vehicle like this, you just need to push it to turn over the starter motor, as it were, the solenoid, just to turn it. So when you're on a flat piece of ground, especially when there's a hole or two, like where we were with the lions earlier, well, James and Pat worked very hard to push the car. So, but now we've been charging it for a good 20 minutes, so it should be good for a while anyway. We've made sure we've turned off any necessary other sort of electrical equipment, made sure all the lights are off. And for now we are 100. So we've moved off from the Olololo Pride, which were down there. We've come towards the other sort of marsh area. The North Clan Den sites is sort of in amongst that area there, and we're hoping maybe just by moving through here, maybe we'll come across the Awino Pride. That'd be quite nice to see. I haven't seen them since being back from leave, but also this is the area where I had that serval with the two little kittens a couple mornings ago with Manu. That would be super special to see again, because they were so relaxed. So relaxed. Nice to spend time with serval like that. Those of you who missed it, well, we found a serval walking in the road, and she took us to two kittens who were a little bit shy at first, but then they were walking around and bounding around, and she was hunting, and I think we were with them for the better part of an hour, which is, for me, the best serval sighting of my life. Very good. Beautiful open plains here. Missing the thousands of wildebeest that were proliferating around here not so long ago. But it is warming up, so I'm pretty sure any lion activity... Oh, there's a really small giraffe there, James. A little family giraffe off to the distance. There's one really little guy. Really little one. Little giraffe are, well, almost as cute as baby warthogs. If you saw the baby warthogs yesterday, there is two adults on the right, or one's a sub-adult, and there's a little baby, a little mini-me version. Look at that, it's tiny. It's tiny, but isn't it incredible that giraffe, when they're born, weigh about 200 pounds, and they stand at 6 feet tall. It's incredible. There we go, there's a little bit of love happening on the right-hand side. A little bit of a neck rubbing. That's not how giraffes fight. Giraffes, when they fight, they stand with their bodies parallel with each other, facing the same direction. Although he's giving a little bit of a smack there. Much smaller, the individual on the right, and I think the individual on the right is a female. So it's a bit more of a caress. Maybe Dad going, "Oh, what a lovely child we have here. Isn't that a lovely youngster?" Beautiful long legs. Well, that's maybe Mum there on the left, watching us quite closely. So the reason they need to be 6 foot is because, well, the mammary glands on giraffe are very, very high up. They're obviously between the back legs, and, well, you need to be pretty tall to reach them. Yeah, it's actually going for them now. Oh, maybe that's not the mom, or it's not interested in being suckled on at the moment. You can see that tree the giraffe is underneath. There's a big torchwood tree. See how they've escaped the giraffe feeding. Even the tallest giraffe can't feed on those trees at the moment. So they are kind of protected from not only from fire, but from herbivory. The giraffe's having a bit of a facial scratch. There we go. Rosemary, this is all... Oh, there we go, a little bit of a kick. There's a much younger individual there in the middle. I was playing a little bit with the adult on the right. There was a male on the right, and that seems to be a female on the left. I've never seen female giraffes necking before. If you don't know what necking means, it's very simple. They stand next to each other and they hit each other with their heads using their long neck to basically catapult the head like a big hammer. And that's how male giraffes fight. We were in the marsh area yesterday. When we were there briefly just now, and apparently there were 2 big male giraffe that killed each other not so long ago, fighting. It's not often you see 2 killing each other. I've seen one kill another one, but often the competition is so fierce that one ends up just moving off. But when they're so evenly matched, they fight to the death. Look at that little youngster, isn't it beautiful? It's so tiny, and can you believe that it stands taller than myself? Next to Mum. She is enormous. Oh, baby giraffe, one of the cutest things to see. Yes, indeed. And you see the 3 staggered heights of baby, subadult, and adult. You see the difference in sizes there. They're just proportionally perfect. They have actually very long legs already when they are born. So all that really needs to happen in the young baby giraffes is they just need to grow the neck a bit more. The legs are already nearly where they should be. A little bit more growth, but the long legs obviously enable them to feed from Mum, but also enable them to keep up with her when she runs. When anti-predatory behavior from giraffe is to run. Obviously it's to spot the prey, the predator first, and then to run this very fast galloping pace through the long grass. And, well, the baby giraffe are able to keep up the speed of an adult as they move away from whatever predator there might be. Oh, he's really being a bit of a bully, isn't he? He's far bigger than that one. There might be a false mounting happening here. You often find in giraffe, especially in males, where a bigger male will actually mount a younger male after dominating him with a bit of necking, and false mount in a sort of dominance display to show I'm bigger than you. What better way to show a male you're bigger than him than to make him, or than to mount him and to show him that who is boss. There's the female busy chewing. You can see the ossicones on top of the head are much narrower and smaller. And you see the male on the left there, ossicones are much thicker set. He's not a fully grown male yet. He's still got some growing to do. Also busy ruminating. They've been, no doubt, feeding on all of these low shrubs that you find all around the knees there. They clearly can't get to the torchwoods above. Flying high. I have absolutely no idea what giraffe milk tastes like, but I'm sure well, that's a very interesting question. What does any milk taste like? I suppose it tastes like milk. Sheep's milk, I don't think I've had goat's milk before. Goat's milk and cow's milk have got a slight difference in taste. But really, I have absolutely no idea what giraffe milk tastes like. Hey, he's giving a little bit of attention to the youngster now, using all the muscles in the front of the neck to pull that head all the way down. Bearing in mind there's a ligament on the back of the neck that keeps the head at that 60-degree angle. effortlessly. There we go. The baby is definitely the interesting point, the point of interest today. Little mini-me. It's possible that that could be the youngster on the right and maybe a previous year's calf on the left. Tim says giraffe milk tastes like Skittles. Of course it does. Of course, what else would it taste like? Very, very interesting. Maybe one day we'll find out, and we'll test Tim's hypothesis there that it doesn't indeed taste like Skittles. Nice little aggregation here of giraffe. Bearing in mind that giraffe don't have any form of territory. Males move into areas where females are for breeding. There's no form of territorial behavior or marking, and they will often just very loosely sort of aggregation as males and females move as they will. The only certainty is the youngster will stay close to mum. That youngster is under threat of any sort of predator, even a leopard. We have had earlier this year, I know Ralph certainly earlier this year had a baby giraffe up a tree with a leopard. A couple of them, in fact. I think David's seen it as well. Lauren, I would most certainly try giraffe milk if I was given the chance. I like to taste things. If you've watched me at all on the show, I like to eat and taste things, most certainly. But how we would come about giraffe milk is very, very interesting. Talking about giraffe milk, I wonder if everybody knows of the famous tennis player Djokovic. Well, he is a very interesting man. I read a very interesting fact that he purchased the world's supply of donkey cheese. Very highly valued. I don't know if it's very highly sought after, but he purchased the world's supply of donkey cheese a couple years ago because he likes it so much. Why indeed? Why indeed? I have no idea. I just find that a very interesting point of discussion that he bought all the donkey cheese available. I don't think there's a lot of it being made, to be honest. Probably only from wherever it is that he hails from, donkey cheese. But I suppose it sounds a little bit more weird than giraffe milk, or not? Giraffe cheese. Well, we're really moving into areas of interest now. Giraffe cheese. Donkey cheese. I don't think I've ever come across either before. I wonder if he is a subscriber and then can maybe post and tell us exactly why he bought all the donkey cheese and if what he thinks it tastes like. It must be quite good for you to go and purchase all of it. Dash says that donkey milk makes good soap. Well, that's very interesting. I wonder why that is. I mean, something that nourishes a youngster would clean you. I find that very interesting. Well, nature is full of surprises, full of interesting facts. And the giraffe female on the left is looking in the distance, and the other young male is very interested in just beating up everybody at the moment. He's seeking a little bit of attention, and clearly he's not getting it. She's definitely not anywhere near estrus with a youngster like that. I suppose he's just a bit lonely, hanging out, rent a family today. We know Pride have had a bit of attempted hunting of giraffe of late, but I don't think they've been successful. Very difficult to catch an animal that has got such a tall neck. They've got such good eyesight in these open plains. CL Joe, you want to know how many lions it takes to bring down a giraffe? Well, I've seen 5 lions do it, but there was at least 2 males in the pride. I've also come across 1 lioness with a giraffe before, but she was injured, and I think she chased the giraffe and it fell in a hole, and she managed to jump on its neck, and well, that was all but dusted. Ooh, here come the elephants. They want a part of the show. But generally, the more lions, the better. And ideally you need weight, because a big male giraffe can weigh close to 3,000 pounds. To bring that down is very, very difficult. So the lions need to launch themselves onto the animal's back to try and bring down the back leg and to try and maybe latch onto the neck, because once the head hits the floor, it's impossible for the giraffe to get up if you put any weight on there. But the prides of lion I spent a lot of time with in the Kruger were between the ranges of 15 and 20 lions, and they were very, very good at catching giraffe. But what they did, they employed the tactic of chasing them into the hills where they used to slip on rocks. So every now and again we would find a big male giraffe standing his ground with a pride of lions surrounding him, and they've got this very effective forward chopping kick that they're able to really connect on the skull of a lion, and this very powerful backward kick, similar to what you might have seen with a zebra, but very powerful. And if that 20 centimeter hoof happens to hit that animal in the face, well, it's potentially game over. So the lions try and get away from those legs and try to jump up on the body and pull it down, but any more than 6 or 7 lions are able to do it, but they need a male invariably to do so. Okay, well, we're going to move on from here, see what else we can find out here in the open plains. In the meantime, let's go back down to the Marshmallow King.
Yeah, Steve. And we've got some Ellies. A little Ellie bull giving us a sniff. Hello, mister. Looks like there might be some more around, but we can only see 2 at the moment. These are quite far away from the other Ellies we saw a bit earlier. And there must be a herd around because there's a little female who's wandered down the bank to the right. But no sign of the big cats just yet. Oh, what are you doing, little Ellie? Are you scratching your head, or are you trying to get to some food underneath there? Ah, there we go. We can hear the rest of the herd now, breaking branches in the distance up above. And it's getting warm very quickly now. Lauren is wondering if elephant are going to be affected by the tannins like the Nyala have been. No, they're not really affected by them. You must remember they've got a completely different digestive system. And Nyala is a ruminant, so it's got four tummies, each with a different job. Whether an elephant has got a relatively simple digestive system, and they only digest about 60% of what they eat. So no, they are not affected like the Nyala, kudu, and bushbuck. Let's just move forward a bit. We might get the Ellies coming down the steep bank up ahead. They're all up along the top of this high bank here. Let's just try see if we can get in below them. Okay. This should be the spot. They might use the elephant staircase, which, well, that's what I call it. This is quite a unique angle. very unique angle. Hello, Ellies. Helena is wondering at what age will the Ellie bulls go into their first must. Well, their first proper must probably in their 20s. So they are all probably as early as 14, 15, but generally they're suppressed by the bigger bulls. But they'll only get mating rights when they're about 30, when they're big enough to compete with the other big Ellies. And also what will happen is the big elephants, the big dominant bulls, will have their must cycles at the time of the year when there are most females in estrus. So this time coming up now, the next couple of months. And the little bulls will normally have their must cycle sort of at the driest time of the year when their least females are in estrus. Look at that, isn't that pretty? Strolling along the edge of the riverbank. Isn't that pretty? So peaceful here on the edge of the Moati this morning. Yeah, all the birds around the river. And let's just go back. It looks like they might come down over there. I always feel very peaceful with elephants. Just a nice calming effect when you have a nice big relaxed herd. Although I must admit, my favorite is still those really big boys when you get those monster bulls. Hi! What you doing? You coming down? This is actually a much bigger herd than I initially thought. You can see the little bit of green grass that sprouted up after the rain on the edge of the rivers. That big female there is already going straight for it. Yum, 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 yum. If you're an elephant, that is. Lady Starfire's wondering how I can explain that dominant elephant bulls suppress the younger bulls. They beat them up, chase them, harass them, and sometimes kill them. And we did find that elephant bull here on Juma that was killed by a bigger bull who was in must. So that's how they suppress the younger bulls. It's so lovely. I'm hoping they sort of trundle down the hill towards us. I'm just going to keep quiet and let you listen to the sounds of them feeding. We might get lucky enough to hear some talking as well. That low rumbling. you listen carefully to elephants, there's just so many different sounds. It's not only the rumbling or the breaking of branches, it's the scraping of branches along the sides of their bodies. The plucking of leaves with the trunk. The kicking of fallen trees to uncover some tasty morsel. Very peaceful. Here we go, just as I was hoping. Down the hill. Oh, not towards us though, unfortunately. Definitely one of the best ways to spend a Wednesday morning. It's quite nice to just sit quietly sometimes and enjoy all the sounds and sensations of the bush. Well, I'm going to sit here and enjoy these ellies a little longer. While we do that, let's go see where Sydney is and what he's up to.
Sydney is not winning this morning. Quite difficult to see the cats such as the leopards and the lions here. Only the tracks is what I'm seeing at the moment everywhere here. But to see the animals is not easy. So there are no tracks here. I can see these hippopotamus tracks. So no tracks for Hosana yet. I've only seen the tracks for Tingana while I was checking that side of the Buffalo's Hook Dam. So I thought I was going to see the tracks for Hosana there because it's where he was spotted yesterday. So now let's cross over to the Masai Mara where Steve is having some elephants.
Thanks, Sydney. We've got elephants of our own up here. There's always different feelings of spending time on foot with elephants, and in a vehicle is just a different sort of sense of security, really. Having a vehicle, if anything turns for the worst, you can always drive away, but being on foot, you have to be so much more careful and considerate. Not that you shouldn't ever be considerate with elephants in a vehicle. We should always watch their behavior, and from a distance coming in, you see how they're responding. And if you find a herd spread out like this with the babies in the open, feeding, well, completely relaxed they are. You see the tail on that one there on the left is just slowly moving from side to side. That is like a wagging dog, a sign of relaxed, except in a dog it means that they are excited. Elephant, that tail stops moving, so freezes, means it's listening and about to make a decision. And if the tail goes stiff and stands up, well, then the animal is not happy at all. And those are obvious signs from a distance, but when you see them feeding like this, perfectly relaxed, doing their thing, no one will keep feeding. If they're upset, you do often find elephants doing what we call displacement feeding, but that is kind of like a messy way of feeding where the trunk is moving around the vegetation, but they're actually watching you. And often they'll grab something and move it towards the mouth, and it will fall on the floor because they're not really paying attention to what they're doing. Same as, for example, if you're having a meal, say you've got peas and carrots on your plate and someone is irritating you next to you, someone's right in your face, and you'll show your irritation by just moving the food around your plate and smashing your knife and fork on the plate, and really a very discoordinated or uncoordinated feeding and trying to get the peas and carrots into your mouth. Well, you'll probably fail because you really are just paying attention to whoever it is that's irritating you nearby. That's kind of an analogy to think of displacement feeding. These animals very relaxed. In the Mara here they are. They see a lot of vehicles. Lexa, you want to know about how an elephant would survive without a trunk if it was removed by a predator or some form of loss. Well, I've seen elephants with a very short trunks still managing to survive, incredibly so. Obviously, the trunk itself is they breathe through it, they suck water up through it, and they use it for feeding. But it's incredible how adaptable they are with a trunk half the size, or even with the tip missing. They're still able to do things. But with the entire trunk missing, I have no idea. If it's right up to sort of the base of where the tusks are there, I have no idea. But I've seen half trunks doing very, very well still. Obviously, they're not as efficient as the two-fingered end of the trunk individuals, which are able to do all sorts of things with that trunk, but they're very adaptable, just like disabled people are able to do all sorts of things that you would think impossible. I mean, people without arms are still able to paint and to draw with their feet. So there's adaptability in nature, and the willingness to keep surviving is there. Obviously, it's not ideal, but they do still get on. If to drink, they'd have to just stick their head a little bit closer to the water or go directly into the water itself and just drink with their mouth. So they would still be able to do that. In feeding, they would just have to basically stick branches directly in their mouth, which is still doable. But as I say, obviously not as efficient as having the full working trunk. Beautiful tusks on that individual there. They're being very selective, moving through this little orange leaf croton thicket. And the little babies are following behind the adults, and they're picking up very tasty bits of grass that have been left behind by the elephants, being left behind by the migration. Paula, you want to know what causes the holes? Well, invariably they could just be tears from thorns or things that happened earlier on in their life. Walking through trees and walking through thorn thickets can lead to ears being torn. It's nothing more than that, really. A thorn or a sharp stick, something that just gets wedged. Anybody who's walked with a scarf through a dense bush vegetation will know how easily you can get caught on things, and invariably that's all that's happened, is something like that at some stage in their life damaged the ear, and sometimes it rips it, sometimes it just forms a hole. Beautiful family unit here. Those are enormous tusks, really, really special. You see she's pulling up some quite long-rooted grasses there and then hitting them on her body to remove any soil, any sediment. See how the tusks are actually even starting to cross over in the front. That's really, really cool. Probably the nicest set of tusks I've seen up in the Mara now. Beautiful female. Very muddy on her back. No doubt she has been down by the river at some stage and cooling themselves down. And look how easily they disappear behind even a small bush. Incredible how such an enormous animal can easily just vanish. Oh, what happened? She's walking back. Something's got her attention. She's found a plant there on the ground that she is interested in. And that would all be through smell. A lot of the feeding that elephants take place, yes, they do look straight down their nose, so they can kind of see what they're doing. But a lot of what they do is sticking their trunk into thickets, onto the ground. They're pretty much smelling what they're looking for. And those of you who've ever picked up a ripe peach will know you can smell your food. A lot of people I know, I like to smell most things before I eat them. It's just that different sensory sort of awareness. And elephants can probably smell the nutrient value of a plant, or they know exactly, okay, I know what a mango smells like versus a peach, and they're looking for mangoes, except the depth of that smelling is much, much more perceptive than ours. They're able to smell the difference between different grasses and different forbs and different trees quite easily. And through their many, many years of life, they develop, obviously, a little catalogue in their brain, which is telling them exactly what's going on. And that is what the youngsters are doing when they're moving through. Just on the right here, James, you've got the youngsters coming through. Some nice light there. That's what the youngsters are doing. They're following the adults, and they're learning what works and what doesn't work. Slowly developing their own catalogue of tastes and smells. You see, that's essentially could be 3 separate generations there. A little baby in the foreground, probably only about 1.5 years. The one in front of it is probably closer to 3, 4. And the one behind is probably not the same, actually. It's a little bit too closely the same size as the individual on the right. So maybe one of the youngsters of one of these other females in the herd. Cousins, no doubt, family members, very closely knit together. And you can see the youngster there on right next to mum. Wherever mum has picked up something or fed it, will move right into it and have a look and a smell and see what works. Michael, I suppose elephants could get bitten by snakes. Their hide is very, very thick. The only place where elephants have got thin skin is sort of around the gentle area and behind the ears. Other than that, the skin is pretty tough and pretty thick. Oh, hello. Showing us how the legs work. Oh, it's checking us out. See how it's looking straight at us down its nose? That's where elephants look when they look at you. They lift their head. Isn't that just gorgeous? Trying to smell us at the same time. Trying to figure out what's going on. Mum's not too concerned. But I've never heard of a snake, of an elephant dying of a snake bite. But because they need to be envenomated. A snake could essentially strike at an elephant's foot, but the skin is very, very thick, and only the longest of fangs would be able to actually get in towards sort of the vein nervous system, because venom is only dangerous if it gets into the blood system. I don't think it would affect just the skin area, but then I am not sure. I suppose a puff adder's bite on the skin would affect the actual muscle and tissue area. But elephants are very aware. They're moving through the landscape. They're constantly smelling, and their ears are hearing everything. And most snakes move away. The only snakes that don't are puff adders. And, well, puff adders make a very characteristic puffing sound when you get too close to them. And no doubt, through the years of experience the elephants have, they're constantly walking out here. Only takes you a couple of weeks or a couple of months to learn the sound of a puff adder on a walk. And elephants, no doubt, will know that sound very, very well. Most other snakes will move away for the vibrations, knowing that if they stay put, there's a good chance of being squashed. And the puff adder, on the other hand, relies so much on its camouflage. That's why it doesn't move. But it does give that warning, which no doubt most animals are aware of. I would assume. We learn it pretty quickly. Beautiful. Aren't those gorgeous tusks? You can tell how relaxed the herd is. I mean, if you ever arrive at a breeding herd and the babies just vanish, then that is a sure sign that the animals are not relaxed. If the babies are in the open and doing their own thing, well, perfectly relaxed. It's all about behavior, isn't it? If an animal sees, oh, it's got a forb. I've got a forb. There we go. Look at that. You see, they're all feeding on similar sort of forbs there that are growing on the ground. Little forbs that grow along the ground and sort of secure the soil. Generally nice and green. The greener, the more nitrogen. And that seems to be what they're selectively rooting out. Okay, well, we're going to get through this breeding herd roadblock, and while we do so, let's go back down to Brent, who I think has left his elephants.
Yes, unfortunately the elephants went into some rather thick stuff. So we are trundling along, hoping for a last half an hour leopard. I might just go check Gallagher Pan because this is Osana we're talking about, although I don't think he's there, to be honest. I think he's somewhere between Guaripan and Drakensberg, and finally tracks coming out. But there have been quite a few vehicles driving around that area, so it's possible the tracks have been driven over. But as I said, it's still been an incredibly pleasant morning. Lots of ellies about, and we had that wonderful sighting of that black-headed oriole early on. Maybe let's do that. Let's do some birding, and hopefully while we bird we might find a big cat. Beautiful. All the marula trees starting to get green, and that one, it's quite nice to have this shock of green amongst the relatively dry looking bush. And I saw some of the marulas have even started producing a little bit of fruit. Now, of course, it's very, very, very unripe, and it'll be a while before it attracts anything to eat. Pretty tree. Now, of course, that's going to cause an explosion of caterpillars, which the orioles, the cuckoos, and quite a few of the migrant species are coming for. Shelley's wondering when the grass is going to start turning green. Well, Shelley, it already has. From that little bit of rain we had, and you can see green shoots popping up all over the place. If you look carefully. See, there we go. But of course, if we don't get any more rain in the next 2 weeks or so, it'll go brown again. Elephants everywhere today. Just this is about the 4th herd. Off in the distance there in the thickets, that's a different herd of elephants. That's the 3rd, 4th group of elephants we've seen on Juma today. You see them, Craig? There we go. Okay, Anna Marie wants a raptor. Any raptor will do. Okay, Anna Marie, let's find a raptor. We should, as it starts warming up, we might start seeing some vultures circling, trying to catch the thermals. So I think we've got a good chance of finding a rapid raptor before the end of drive. Okay, well, I search for a bird of prey. Let's go across to Sydney to see what he's looking for now.
I've just been to the hyena den, and it's quiet this morning. I saw that these tracks showing that the two big lions were around the den. It was a male and a female. So maybe that is what disturbed the hyenas there this morning. There is no adults, and little ones are also hiding. So it's showing that these lions went right in there. While I was there yesterday, I picked up a strong smell of a dead piece. So it was a carrion of a rotten meat. So this piece maybe is the one which might have attracted the lions to go and check around the den. So these lions' tracks came much more this side. Maybe we might be lucky somewhere here where I am. Yeah, the hyenas, I think they will be okay. The little ones, I didn't see them. And the tracks, I can promise you, tracks went very close to the den, and they were just moving around everywhere there. So maybe they dispersed the adults hyenas around the den, which might even cause the hyenas maybe to move their cubs again to the other den. Because the movement of the little ones around the den will jeopardize their safety. So I think the adults will do some assessments and see that now the lions have discovered the den. We must go and find another den. If that happens, it means it's going to be as a result of the lion visit this morning. We do have some of the browsers who will then eat grass. Let me give you an example. I saw the buffaloes around the Kruger National Park some time ago feeding on mopani leaves. So you can see these animals, when it's too dry, they can adapt to feed on something else. I've also seen the kudu eating grass, but the kudu is a browser, and I saw them eating grass. Yes, for medicinal reasons, sometimes animals, they do eat the grasses, but for a diet as well, animals change gears when it's too dry, so they can easily adapt. The only problem is the other animals, such as the predators, like the leopards, when you see them eating grass, their digestive system is not good to digest the grass. So that is why those ones, they don't eat grass as a diet. But the herbivores, their digestive system is adaptable to deal with both grass and leaves. So at the moment here, this side where I am, it's much drier than the central part of the reserve. So maybe this part where I am did not receive much rain as the central part. It happens sometimes where you find that the rain is not the same in the whole reserve. You find that the other portion of the reserve received much higher rainfall than the other. Shirley, I didn't check the prediction of the weather this week, but by looking at the clouds, I can promise you now the clouds are starting to come together. Anytime soon it might be overcast. Hopefully in a few days' time we are going to receive some rain. So I think the rain which might So the rain which might come now might also excite quite a lot of insects to come out. So now let's cross over to Steve.
Wait, 5 minutes. Hey? It's just been there the whole time, eh? Murutu.
So there's just some big elephant tracks here on the ground at the moment, but no tracks for the cats. Just want to check when looking for these cats, sometimes they stump as well. When seeing them, you just see a cat when it's just a tree stem. So not much activities here took place for the leopards. So the only tracks I'm seeing here is for these lions, and I am not seeing them coming out of this block. So maybe they're still in there because the sun trapped them. It's very hot at the moment. So now let's cross over to Steve.
Thank you very much. Sorry about that. I had a bit of a communication breakdown moments before. We've left our elephants, or the elephants, and I jumped out of the car to actually, because I said the word croton before, orange-leafed croton, and here we have it. Here is no orange leaves on this plant, but as they get older, the leaves get a little bit orange. You can see very nice sort of green on the top, and underneath is this very silvery color. And this is part of the fever tree family, fever berry. So what we call croton, croton is the genus name. So this is the orange-leafed fever berry or orange-leafed croton. And down in South Africa we get a very similar one called the lavender fever berry. And they look very similar, but they grow on rocks. And this plant, if you look closely in there, I don't know if you can see, there's little orange secretory cavities in there. And this plant is poisonous. All of the crotons form part of the euphorbia family, and they are toxic, highly toxic if ingested. And the plant down in South Africa, the feverberry in South Africa, the lavender one, has got a beautiful, let me just break off a leaf here, got a beautiful lavender smell to it. This one smells a little bit off lavender, but it's definitely got that smell to it. And this is actually poisonous if I ingested it. So a little bit of this ingested, or lots of it ingested, could be fatal, but small amounts. What I love about this, I've just crushed it. Can you have a look at my finger, James? What the locals did in South Africa, the Shanghai locals used to actually use this as glitter or eye makeup. And you see all those little white dots? That is what comes off of the bottom of the leaf. So obviously on my very white skin, it doesn't look very nice, but if you put it on a nice sort of darker toned skin, it actually stands out nicely as a form of eyeshadow or glitter or something like that, as a form of ceremonial makeup. But down back in South Africa, these plants are actually eaten and ingested, not ingested, but chewed on for any mouth ulcers or sores. And I'm not sure if it works up here, but very similar to the croton down in South Africa, the lavender. If ingested in high proportions, it is toxic and will kill you. But being part of the euphorbia family, this is a plant that the black rhino will enjoy. Black rhinos are able to eat poisonous plants. They're able to eat euphorbias, although this one doesn't show the milky latex that you would get off a normal euphorbia. The black rhino will still eat it. So very, very important out here in this landscape, because we get lots of these thickets all around and nice shady areas. Obviously shade, the elephants will feed around them. I doubt the elephants will feed on this plant at all. Black rhino will eat it, but nice shade. You need shade when there's sunshine, especially if you want to sort of shelter yourself. A lot of ruminants will spend time there. And that is it for the orange-leafed croton. croton, I can't remember the species name, but orange leaf lavender feverberry. Don't eat it unless you want to die. So no one's got a death wish. I did chew on a little bit of this last time I was here because it's got a very bitter taste, very, very bitter, and something that's bitter generally is something you don't want to eat. You don't want to ingest because it might have something that your body won't like. Okay, thanks, James. We're going to throw this branch back overboard where it belongs. We're going to continue on through the open area. This is pretty much where we found the serval and kittens the other morning. So maybe we'll get a last-minute serval. That'd be nice. Last-minute serval family. We'll keep our eyes peeled because these are extremely camouflaged cats. Kirsty would like to see a serval. Well, let's see if we can find you one. Sassy, I don't know if it would harm you in an open wound. The reality of poison versus venom is venom needs to go into the blood system and poison needs to be ingested. So you can actually put poisonous things on your skin, maybe into a wound, I'm not 100% sure, and you'd probably be okay. Poisonous is something that ingested will cause harm. You can actually drink venom as long as there's no ulcers or sores in your mouth or your stomach cavity. So poisonous things you could probably rub on your body as a form of wash. I haven't been able to find any other information about this plant specifically, but the feverberries in general, where the name feverberry comes from, is you get the large leaf feverberry, croton megalobotris is the name, and that occurs in the northern parts of the Kruger National Park in Botswana. And what happened is some individual came with a decoction or an accumulation of this plant's leaves and fruit. We're not 100% sure, to Zanin, where there's a sort of a very, very important institute there for wild diseases and viruses and diseases in Africa, tropical diseases, and someone came there in like the 40s or 50s with this accumulation of plant parts from that tree, and it cured malaria, apparently. So no one knows exactly what the plant makeup was, how he'd mixed it, and that's why the plant was named feverberry, because with the plant it was able to heal the fever itself, which back in the day they thought was caused by the fever tree, which accumulated its name because people thought that was what made them sick. Lily, you hate to be the person that gets tested. You don't want to be the guinea pig. No one wants to be a guinea pig. Sometimes, a little bit. I don't mind being guinea pig sometimes, but no, we don't like to be tested on, do we? Some people pay good money. I mean, there's a lot of people that do medicinal trials, all sorts of trials. They're like, oh, but they're paying me. You're like, yeah, because they're doing something that's never been done before. No, I'm going to go that way. I've got a feeling about that way. A friend of mine did medical trials years ago, and he signed disclaimer forms that are about this thick. They're giving you all these things and testing your heart rate, and no, but they paid well. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. All in the name of science, eh? All in the name of science. A lot of the things they come up with medicine come from the plants that we have out in the environment. Wherever you find a virus, a disease, an ailment, there is something in the vegetation to cure that. And elephants being the prime example of animals that are intelligent and use the landscape. I mean, I've made this example before that even chickens will pick medicinal plants if they are planted for them in a system. If they're feeling ill, they'll pick them. They'll selectively go for them. We've seen Osana of late chewing a lot of grass to regurgitate, or as Sydney said, potentially to cure any ailments he might have, any tapeworm sort of thing in the belly. Elephants will feed on stuff as well, dependent on the season. Toothache. That's all information that is in the environment, and many traditional people still have. But unfortunately, as humanity is moving away from all this information, and Richard doesn't mind being a guinea pig if someone wants him to taste their chocolate cake. Indeed, I think everyone, especially all my friends down in FC, are putting their hand up going, I want to be the guinea pig. Chocolate cake? Well, who can say no to chocolate cake? Oh, let's see if we can you get him, James? Battalier has just flown out of the tree here. Can you get him, James? I wonder if the roof is in the way. Just up here. Sorry, we have got a roof. There's a beautiful Battalier who's flying. Wow, beautiful aerial flight. There he goes. He's going to catch him. The wing beats. You can actually hear those wing beats. The tailless male Battalier, mature male. You can tell he's a male by the half white and half black underwing. Easiest of the raptors to identify when they are in adult plumage. You see the tips of the wings are very, very narrow, and they're almost no tail. And a flap, flap, flap. You actually sometimes hear that flapping sound. And he's flapping because he's quite low to the ground. There's not much air movement, and he needs to flap from time to time to prevent him from stalling. He's the only raptor that's really able to fly, or large raptor that's really able to fly without too many thermals, to soar like that. You see, most of the other raptors would be circling, trying to pick up on a thermal and some form of air current. Battalier is able to access or to move around much earlier than most. And that's what gets them generally the first onto the scene of a carcass or a kill. But he's moving off a little bit too far, so we're going to move off from him. Thanks, James. Good work. Definitely see the sports cameraman in you there. If I can just find first and not reverse this time. Okay, we're continuing through this open area. Let's go back down to Brent Leo Smith, who I'm sure will be telling you more about his holiday.
Well, we're still searching for a raptor. We saw a Wahlberg's eagle fly off in this direction. Steve did find one, so there is one raptor at least. But we are trying to find another one before the end of the safari. Maybe we'll get a harrier hawk in this area. But it's still a little bit cool for the vultures to be up and about. Oof. James is asking, what was my favorite sighting during this work stint? Trying to think now. I had some wonderful sightings with horse hunter and the dispersal dogs, those low Sabi dogs. I actually think my favorite sighting, strangely enough, this work cycle was of those big Kruger Ellie bulls that we spent some time with. They came right up to us, right next to us, and we don't see that many really big Ellie bulls that often, so that's always a treat. And I love big elephant bulls. They're just so massive and relaxed. Ah yes, and the honey badger, that's definitely a highlight from this work cycle. Some fun times with Thandi and Tlalamba as well. But I would still say, yeah, honey badger still second to those big Ellie bulls. We don't get to spend nearly as much time as I would like with really proper old monster Ellie bulls. So I would say that's probably the highlight of this work cycle. What else? I'm looking forward to when I get back, because the birding should be tip-top by then, and I think we might get some nice... A snake just shot across the road. Sand snake is way too fast for us to find again, but as I said, the birding should be good. Not live, but I've seen some good raptors, migrant raptors so far, on the far east of Torchwood with the trainees. We saw some lesser spotted eagles, steppe eagles. Looking forward to the Amma falcons being back. And of course all the cuckoos. I'm really hoping we find a thick-billed cuckoo this year. Oh, speaking of birds, it's gone. It's going to land. It is. Oh, behind the branch, of course. Let me just go forward a bit. Very pretty bird, not one of the migrants, one of our residents. Let me just see if I can find a gap for you guys to see it. And this bird will forever remind me of Brian Joubert and Andrew Francis, because they are convinced, they call it oh, you silly bird. It's gone. Oh dear. They used to call it a cowbird because they decided its markings looked like a cow, and it didn't matter how often I would argue with them, they could not be swayed that it was a cowbird. But I can show you a picture of it. It is a ground scraper thrush. Okay, thrush. I really don't think it looks anything like cow markings to me. I mean, really, honestly. Kirsten says it looks like a Dalmatian. No, it looks like a ground scraper thrush. Let's just be honest about it. It looks like a bird. It has a beak, it has wings, it has long feet, and it's got some spots on it. But it certainly doesn't look like a Dalmatian or a cow. It looks like a ground scraper thrush to me. I can't believe we can't find a Warburg's eagle. Okay, well, it seems to be, apart from Steve's lions early on, it seems to be a very much an elephant morning, and sounds like Steve has got some more back up north in the Mara.
An elephant drive indeed, but James and I decided to get a bit of a two-shot here of a hyena in the foreground and a herd of elephants behind. Apparently there's another hyena there in the bushes I can't quite see from my angle. I'm a little bit lower down, a little bit shorter than the guys in the back, but this hyena out in the open, not quite sure if there's a den site nearby. This is definitely North Clan sort of area, and as we've seen, these dens often fall underneath small little bushes in and around them. Oh, that was hard work. That was hard work. End of the show definitely coming up soon. The hyena's like, oh really? You want me now, do you? And there's the elephant. It is wonderful to spend time with elephants now, because since the migration herds have moved out to these areas, the elephants have moved back in. They didn't really enjoy hanging out too much with the enormous amounts of animals constantly making noise all over the place. It probably is quite disturbing for them. Obviously the hyena quite enjoyed the animals all over the place. But now, the last couple of days, we really are seeing the elephants turning up again. And they are absolutely everywhere. Everywhere you look, there are elephants. And they're feeding on these small shrubs in the open area. But they generally move away from these open areas, or the areas where the herds are accumulating, because of the noise and the smell and the busyness. Hello, Bright Night. Well, when a matriarch dies, invariably there's sort of like just a family succession, really. It's generally the next oldest female. It takes a long time, though. Generally a matriarch... Oh, there we go. The hyena's on the move. Oh, hello. There's another one in the bush there. It potentially is a small den here. Oh, there's a third one. Oh, they're all coming out now. So invariably it's just the next oldest on the chain that takes over. It's not the same sort of violent takeover that you get with a clan of hyena, which is all about dominance and all about bulk. Generally, it's just age and experience. And no doubt, by the time a matriarch passes in an elephant herd, she's got siblings or even sisters that are well and truly prepared and ready to take over the role. Invariably, a matriarch only will perish naturally after the age of 55 up to 65. And by that stage, she's had many, many youngsters. She's even a granny twice over by that stage. And so invariably, it's just the next biggest or oldest female in the herd that takes over. Quite a delicate business, but nowhere near as intricate, I'm sure, than that of these guys here, where it's tooth and snarling and dominance and blood shed. Almost like sort of humans when it comes to who will be the next king. The role of succession. Is there a youngster who's to take over, and, well, are they allowed to take over? Very violent in the hyena world. That is how they've become as strong as they are. Without the violence that lions and hyenas see in their daily life, they wouldn't be as successful as they are. That's what makes them stronger. And I'm sorry I can't identify who these animals are. I'm still trying to get my head around hyena identification, but the breeding herd is slowly feeding, and they'll be moving off to the tree line in the background there, which will be the Mara River, no doubt, for a drink. And those tower-like structures on the top right, that is Serena, the hotel, situated there on that ridge, and they are surrounded by crotons that we were talking about before. They do very well on the rocks up there. The elephants are enjoying themselves. Very good. Thanks, James. We're going to move off. Continuing. What are we going to find in the final minutes? You never know out here in the Mara. It could be absolutely anything. But thanks, everyone, from myself and James this side. It's going to be goodbye from us. We're going to go back down to Brent Leo Smith for his final words.
I'm scanning the sky for raptors. I can't see any. I can't believe we couldn't find a wombat seagull. I even went past the nest. But it's been wonderful having you with us on this sunrise safari. And it's always a little bit melancholic when we go on leave. Oh, yeah, now I've pulled my earpiece out, of course. Because I always wonder what's happening with our favorite cats and characters. And you've got a spider web, Craig. There we go. I've got it for you. Don't worry. I've got it. It's always I always wonder what happens with our favorite cats, like Osana and Tandi and Kalamba while we're on leave. But it's also quite nice to take a bit of a break from all of that. And as I say, I'm very excited to go throw some fly lines and get the line wet and see if Tristan and I can catch some fish while we're on holiday. It should be quite decent fishing. We're hoping, above hopes, that we might get a couple of GTs. For those of you who don't know what a GT is, it's a giant trevally in South Africa. Another name for it is an ignobilis kingfish, and it's the biggest of the trevally family. No, Kirsten, I'm sure there will be G and T's as well, but we are focusing on GTs. Not forget the giant trevally, not the beverage that Kirsten drinks far too much of. And thanks so much to those who are going to miss us, but we'll be back in a few short weeks, and it'll be fun to catch up on what's been happening while we've been away. As I said, I'm quite excited for the birding when I get back. I'm really hoping we get a thick-billed cuckoo in the Moati this year. Fingers crossed. That is my aim for December. Thick-billed cuckoo in the Moati River. Haven't seen one yet, but it's always good to have. Raptor! Juvenile Battalier. There we go. That's how we roll. There we go, Anne-Marie. A last second raptor for you. Juvenile Battalier soaring through the blue skies of the Djuma Private Game Reserve. Isn't that wonderful? So we will see you, well, I'll see you, and Jamie will see you in a few weeks, but it's been great being with you for this while, and you're in the capable hands of our other safari guides while we're away. Just make sure James behaves himself properly. Bye!